I have to say, I have never felt quite so motivated to save as much money as possible and spend as little money as possible as I feel going into 2025. And there are a lot of reasons as to why that is. I am curious what your reason for watching this video and wanting to save money in 2025 is. First and foremost, my biggest reason for just like buying less stuff overall and thereby saving money overall is usually for environmental purposes. It's kind of what we talk about on this channel. If you didn't already know that, you might be new here, maybe hit the subscribe button. I talk a lot about the environmental impact of everything we buy because the majority of the environmental impact of any given thing you can name, any product you can name, the environmental impact of that thing happens largely before it gets to you by extracting things from the planet to make it, by tearing down forests to extract those things, by shipping them all over the world and using electricity to make them, and fossil fuels and greenhouse gases, and the list goes on and on. We can tie nearly every single environmental problem back to consumerism, and that's why I talk a lot about why you don't need to buy things, and that's why I buy as little things new as possible. All of those things combined, I came up with a plan of some specific things I'm going to change or things that I'm going to do a lot better in 2025 to spend less money and save more money. So let's get into it. First and foremost, I will be doing what is called a no-buy in 2025. If you've never heard of what a no-buy is, I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
That's like common sense, I fear.
Are you serious?
I'm serious.
Basically, you can make up your own rules of what you will spend your money on, what you won't spend your money on, but it really requires you to think about the things that you're buying and think about ways to get them in ways that don't involve giving someone else money. I haven't narrowed down all of my rules exactly yet. I will do some work on that, and I will be talking about it in future videos, so turn on your notifications so that you don't miss that. But I think following people who are doing no-buys, learning from people who have done them successfully, and then purposefully setting up rules for a no-buy for yourself is a really like step one instrumental tool in spending less money in the new year. And so for me, that looks like looking at my expenses, looking at the things I need, looking at the things I have, and then making my rules accordingly so that I have a clear vision going into the new year about what we will and won't be buying. And setting up a no-buy for yourself kind of sets the ground rules for everything else. So I had to make it number one. If you've never looked into this type of content, I'll be talking about it. I'm sure a lot of people, because of the things that I mentioned, will be talking about it. And I highly recommend that you learn a little bit more and do it yourself. Another way that I save money all the time, but it definitely will continue into 2025, is reusables. I invested in reusable versions of things that people rebuy on a monthly basis years ago, and so I will not have to be spending any money on those things in 2025. I talked a little bit more about it specifically in the nitty-gritty details of it in my video where I talk about things I'm not buying in 2025, but this is things like single-use Ziploc plastic baggies, aluminum foil, paper towels. I buy a lot less toilet paper, plastic bottles of water I know people spend a lot of money on, coffee pods. All the things can really add up, and for me, because I have already invested in reusables a long time ago that I'm still using and that are still working great to this day, I don't have to worry about spending that money every single month. Obviously, cooking at home should be a part of anybody's strategy when they're trying to save money, not just in 2025, but it's something I personally can work on when I'm not having great mental health days. It's so easy for me to just decide to go get something instead of making it at home, but I am making a big part of my low spend year going to be cooking at home, and Thrive Market has helped doing that. They're also working towards being the world's first climate positive grocery store, which makes me feel really good about supporting them and reducing my reliance on giant conglomerate corporations who, yeah, we already talked in the beginning about why we don't want to be supporting them. They have an incredible selection of organic groceries, snacks, supplements, eco-friendly cleaning supplies, non-toxic beauty items, personal care, organic kids products. They even do have like wine, meat, seafood, frozen stuff, literally anything. And I save a lot of money by going to Thrive Market as opposed to other places. Like for example, this is the time where everyone is sick. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but I'm still recovering a little bit from being sick. And I was able to get my lozenges for 50% off at Thrive Market. And I don't know about you, but like most of my dinners when I'm just trying to do something quick is like rice, tofu, and a veggie. But putting chili crisp on it will change the game. And I got 20% off of the one that I have been routinely repurchasing from Thrive Market. I'm also really into making this one pot pasta right now. You put the shells in there, you put the broth in there, you put the tomato puree in there. That's what I've been using this one for. And I got over 20% off on that this week too. 34% off to be exact. And because of my little brain that lacks impulse control and is very dopamine seeking, especially in ways of food, I really like grocery shopping on Thrive Market because I don't get so distracted by just putting things in my cart and the overstimulation of going to the grocery store, I often will not take the time to deliberate. Whereas on Thrive Market, if I'm like, okay, you can get like 1 or 2 snacks this week, I'm not throwing a bunch of stuff in my cart and being too stressed to deliberate. So it honestly saves me money that way too. And I personally love being able to shop by things that matter to me, like using upcycled ingredients in the snacks that I'm choosing to go for that week. So I absolutely love Thrive Market. I super appreciate them for sponsoring this video as well. So if you want to check them out for yourself, I'm going to leave a link at the top of the description, or you can go to thrivemarket.com/ShelbyOrm to get 30% off of your first order and a free gift. All of it is going to come with carbon neutral shipping from a B Corp certification and a zero waste warehouse. You can't beat it. Okay, and it is a huge part of how I'm saving money this year. Speaking of food, something that we have done before and I want to make like a regular part of our routine is weekends where we only eat from the fridge and pantry, and we try to look up ways to utilize what we have in our fridge. I think we should do this on like a monthly basis so that we're going through everything that we have and actually using it up instead of going and buying more stuff. So this will help us prevent food waste, help us save money, and it's kind of fun. In the past, I tried to use those like meal generators, if that makes sense. Like you could put in the stuff you have and then hopefully it will come up with a recipe. They don't always work that great. Their database isn't huge. So I recommend you do that too. Maybe we can do it together. Maybe I'll start posting about it on the gram. Maybe you'll go follow me over there. Who knows? I also am going to make a big effort throughout the remainder of January. I might make a video about this if you want, in inventorying all of my belongings, like absolutely everything. Something about me is looking for things is for some reason like just very triggering to my anxiety, to the point where I will have like anxiety attacks over looking for things, and I will also just avoid looking for things and often buy replacements for things that I literally have but that I don't know where it is, I don't know if I have it, and I don't want to spend money on doing that in 2025. So going through the things that I own, inventorying them so that I know I have them and also where they're stored is going to be, I think, life-changing for me and also really satisfying, but also a great way for me to save money in the new year, avoid my anxieties. It's going to fix my whole life, I honestly think. I got this idea because I inventoried my entire wardrobe a few months ago. I'll link that video up here. I only talked about it a little bit. I will talk about it a lot more in 2025, but it has really changed the game for me when it comes to shopping and buying new things. Even when I'm thrifting, even when I'm on Poshmark, I can look through my phone and see what I already own, and it has stopped me from buying things so many times. So I kind of took that idea into like everything I own. We're talking like camping gear, kitchen gear, gadgets, tools, like garden stuff, literally everything. I haven't found an app that does that yet, but I will. And I will be doing that throughout the remainder of January because I think it'll help me save a lot of money in the new year. So if that's helpful to you, that's an idea. And speaking of not buying things, something that saves me money all the time, but that I will be utilizing even more in 2025 because I won't be buying things, is my Buy Nothing group. If you're not already part of a Buy Nothing group, do it right now. Stop what you're doing. I want you to stop what you're doing and look up the Buy Nothing group that is closest to you and join it. It is basically a way for you to meet people who live in your community, your literal neighbors, and help each other out in ways that avoids buying things and adding to the consumerist capitalist hellscape that we live in. I've used it so much, not just to ask for things from people, but also I have borrowed so many things from people in my Buy Nothing group, and I've made friends and met people who believe in the same things I do. And I want to talk more about what this whole narrative of community is, but in the very like outer skirt rings of community, I feel like I have such a strong knit one in my neighborhood, and it is largely because of our Buy Nothing group. So let me give you some examples of things that I got from my Buy Nothing group just this year that saved me money, and so I know in 2025 it will save me more. This week, I got an entire patio furniture set. Yes, you heard me right. I got this door insert for my cat so that when we're in the kitchen, if he wants to be outside, we can just put that in and then he can go and come as he pleases on the porch. That was also like a multi-$100 thing that I got for free. This year, I've borrowed chairs from my neighbors when I needed to host an event so that I don't have to buy those chairs myself and also store them. Same for tables, same for ice chests. I've borrowed a crock pot. I borrowed lights for my birthday party, like projector lights. I only use them for my party, so I didn't want to buy them, obviously. Honestly, I could go back through my history on my Buy Nothing group and see all of the ways that I've saved money, but I've also given back to my community. It's a very give and take thing, but I absolutely highly, highly, highly recommend it. If you're trying to spend less money in the new year, this is going to be a huge tool for you. And then speaking of my neighbors and my neighborhood and buying nothing, I also want to plan more swaps for my neighborhood. So obviously clothing swaps kind of took a took off pretty heavily in the last year or two. I think those are incredible, and I would like to do more of those. But specifically in my neighborhood, because I recently became the president of my neighborhood, I want to organize things like kitchen supply swaps. Like, we all have gadgets and things in our kitchens that we're just not using that we could swap for someone else and maybe get something that we need. Plant swaps, seed swaps. I kind of want to plan like a white elephant, but after Christmas with gifts that you didn't want. I have so many ideas of ways to connect our community and also avoid buying things, be an anti-consumerist without the messaging. It doesn't necessarily have to be like, hey neighbors, this is us fighting capitalism together. They're just excited to be together, talk to people, and get some free stuff, right? But it is a way for everybody to participate in the system a little bit less, and in the process, saving money. Oh my God, the segues are epic. Speaking of meeting your neighbors, I also am going to really hyper fixate on value-based entertainment as opposed to entertainment that requires me to spend money. I feel like I learned a lot about this in 2025, but instead of going out and going even to dinner is so expensive. Getting drinks, I don't drink, but it's so expensive, even if you're buying a mocktail these days. Sometimes they're more expensive than the alcoholic drink. I do love an event. I do love a public outing and activity, but when comedy shows are costing $25 and I'm not even gonna really be talking to you during it, there are so many ways that we could spend time together that's more meaningful and we don't have to spend as much money. And so in 2025, shifting the way I spend my money on entertainment to doing more value-based entertainment, that's what I'm calling it. Things like volunteering, which is something I've already done, but I would like to get my friends in on it. Like when they're asking to hang out with me, instead of going bowling, how about we go plant trees? You know what I mean? That's the kind of vibe I'm hoping to go for in 2025. Or like hosting. I already host a lot, but the next time a friend asks me if I want to go grab dinner, no, let's like each cook something and we will just come and hang out in the home. My word for 2024 was create, and so I basically created a craft night where we meet up every Thursday. There were 5 of us. We all made something for dinner. And so I can't tell you how much that experience changed the way I view friendships and just like the way community can look. I absolutely will do more of that in 2025 and less of the going out to eat. And just like utilizing our public free events and parks. Like, there are so many ways to be entertained without spending money. And in 2025, I am absolutely going to utilize that more so that I can spend less money, but still be a part of my community and still see my friends. That's my plan. That's a way I'm saving money. Okay, I don't have another really good segue for you, but I also plan to do no flights in 2025 if I can help it. If someone else is not paying for it, if I have to go do it for work, that's different obviously, but I don't plan on paying for any flights in 2025 in order to save money because Texas is massive, okay? I've also done a lot of the things in Texas that they're like, is to do as far as travel goes, I think. So traveling by car is honestly not that ideal, but I do live in a city where there are incredible, amazing things happening all the time. So that's actually kind of a huge part of like the way Madison and I justify living in Austin is that we don't feel the need to leave all the time for entertainment or for like cool experiences. So yeah, I think in 2025, I've just kind of sworn off taking flights because it adds up really quickly when you do that. Just the travel alone becomes really expensive. And so that's a way I plan on saving money in 2025 is focusing more on all the things we already talked about with the value-based entertainment, but like my community here and finding joy and experiences through that. Also, this might seem minimal, but I am swearing off subscriptions in 2025 and prioritizing if I have to start one, like I just, as soon as I do the thing I need to do, I cancel the subscription. And usually you can still use whatever you already paid for, whatever the free trial is, but it won't renew. And so I am not going to be getting any new subscriptions like that in 2025. I don't watch TV, so I don't need to be paying for Hulu, Netflix, whatever the other ones are. I watch it so rarely, and I usually utilize my sisters when I have to. I don't even think I have any, honestly, that I can think of, so no new ones. This is something I decided to implement when I realized what sales were happening at the end of the year. Why don't I take advantage of those sales when I need to? When I do my inventory of all the things that I buy, my hope is that then I will be able to see what I'm using on a regular basis, what I'm replacing on a regular basis, and then when those things go on sale, I can stock up. I'm talking about things like my deodorant. It had the biggest sale of the year in the last month or two. Even things that I buy on the regular for things like my chickens and my cat, all of those things were on sale. So why don't I utilize when they're on sale? I should. I plan on learning skills, like getting very serious about learning skills that I would otherwise pay for. In the video, I linked it already up here, but in one of the videos I did this year, I went and got 2 pieces altered for myself. 2 denim, one was a skirt, one was a dress. And the cost was $111. So that's like, I guess actually learning how to use a sewing machine is my big goal, because I can save a lot of money by just doing those things myself, whether with the clothes I already have or when I need to go and get something, I can alter it myself instead of spending. That was a lot of money. And I know it was really expensive for what it was. A lot of people told me that was like really expensive for the service that I got. And I respect people need to earn a wage for what they're doing, but I know that if someone knows how to use a sewing machine, it couldn't have taken more than 10 minutes to cut and sew that hem. And I simply can't afford to be doing that on any sort of regular basis. So I will be learning skills like sewing. The sewing machine is a big one for me, but also learning how to fix my bike. That's a huge thing that there are great places in Austin that will teach you how to work on your bike. And so I plan on going to those classes more. A lot of them are free. And I also think that learning to make my own clothes, which is kind of the same as the sewing machine, but I need to learn like patterns and cutting and sourcing materials and all that kind of stuff. There are just things that I really, really want and I really, really like, but they're usually made by designers or they're ethical brands and they're so expensive, and learning how to do things myself would save me a lot of money. And speaking of my bike, I plan on taking my bike absolutely everywhere, anything that's in my neighborhood, which is really anything that's within a 20-minute biking distance. I think I do that a lot during this time of year anyway. I kind of stop between June and September. There's nowhere I'm going that looking the way I will look after biking through 100-degree heat will be okay for. So this is already the time of year for me to be doing that, but sometimes I forget, sometimes I'm not really intentional about it, but because I can see how many miles I've put on my bike, they can see that I've already put 400 miles on my bike, it's such a one-to-one comparison for me. The Prius gets 50 miles a gallon. I don't feel terrible when I have to drive it, but I can save even more money if I don't drive it, and I have the accessibility to do so, so I plan to do that in 2025. And taking advantage of all the free things that are happening in my city. Like I already said, there are a lot of free events, but there are also a lot of free services and a lot of free things. If you go through your city's resource website, or even if you go through your library's website, you can get things like museum passes. You can go check out a museum pass from your library for free, and then you don't have to pay for the museums. We have seed libraries here, so I can go check my seed library before I am buying any sort of seeds. That will save me money. There are tool lending libraries. There are community gardens that give away food sometimes. There are free workshops and free classes that you can take so that you can learn some of the skills that we've talked about today. You can check out things like laptops if you need one. I mean, like the options and the things are endless. There are water safe. You can get like a box full of free water conservation tools from our city. Like honestly, the options are endless, and we should be utilizing those things more. It helps support our communities, helps support where we live. It fosters that sense of community that I feel like everyone's looking for, and it can save us all money. So over the next month or so, before the end of January, give yourself like a few hours to just peruse what you can get for free from your city, what events they host, classes, workshops, and take advantage of them. And in 2025, I plan on focusing a lot more on cost per use. I talk a lot about quality over quantity, and I do think I implement that into my life really well, but I don't track cost per use like in a very official way. And inventorying my stuff will have a lot to do with this, like I said. Inventorying my closet is the reason I feel like this is such a good idea, because I've been calculating cost per use since I've been using the app, and I'm really starting to see the things that I utilize the most and the things that would be worth spending my money on, right? I feel like prior to having this app, I thought spending a lot of money on maybe like a nice top or a nice dress made the most sense because those things are nicer, when in reality, I maybe wear them once or twice a year, but I wear like the pants I'm wearing like every other day. They have gotten a gajillion uses since I started tracking it. And it makes a lot more sense for me to actually put money into buying good quality of those items instead of spending a bunch of money on these things that I wear like once or twice a year. But I think tracking cost per use, not just in a passive way where you're like, oh yeah, I use that thing all the time, or whatever, not actually looking at it analytically, but looking at it in a very like definitive way can help us save a lot of money. And I look forward to learning that lesson in 2025. And hopefully you will join me on that mission to learn that lesson. Make sure you hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. And I'll see you around here for updates on this as I go along. And remember, until next time, you cannot do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good that you can do. Bye, guys.